and I'm going to be showing you some from the past. One of the things I've been involved with my fly tying career is setting up fly tying theaters and been involved with the many conclaves that fly fishing groups and clubs have over the country. And they really highlight tyers that you may not have ever met. And one of the best ones is one in Idaho, both the Western Idaho Expo and the Eastern Idaho Expo, which is in Idaho Falls. They've been doing these fly tying get-togethers for a long time. We're talking over 30 years. So I want to do some highlights from some that I filmed in 2009 and 2010. And you'll get a chance to meet some names you know, and maybe some names you didn't know. And one of the nice things about tying at these expos is all the excitement and sounds of people going around telling lots and lots of fly fishing stories. Most of them may be exaggerated. But one of the nice things about the theater is you get a chance to listen to the tyers talk about their experiences and answer questions. I think you're going to enjoy them. We're going to start this week with several. We'll try to give you the most information. And I know some of you are going to say, wow, you know, I don't know about the materials. Well, these are really uncut. So, you know, you do your best on figuring it out. But I think you're going to enjoy the interaction with the crowd and with the tyers. And really uncut and I think extremely fun. Let's get going. Our next fly tyer is one very familiar to me, Boots Allen. He's part of the Jackson Hole Allen family. His grandfather Boots, who he was named after, was one of the first Jackson Hole fly fishing guides and got quite a reputation as a fly tyer in the early days. He popularized the name Humpy for the goofus bug, which had come out of California and Montana, and the name stuck. His father, Joe, also a fishing guide and a fly tyer, came up with the idea of the double humpy, which has been a popular pattern here in Jackson Hole and beyond. Boots, besides being a fishing guide, is a lot more. He has a Ph.D. And he is a really superb writer. He's written several books and has built up quite a reputation in the fly fishing field. And I am so happy to have him here in the theater. So I'm going to introduce him.
Okay, my name is Boots Allen. I guide in eastern Idaho, western Wyoming, and I'm going to tie up basically patterns. There are variations of kind of standbys for that area, and the first one I'm going to tie is a fly called the Quad Bunny. It's based on Scott Sanchez's Double Bunny. Double Bunny was a fly that won the One Fly tournament 4 years in a row before they ended up banning that size of flies, and that basically rendered it obsolete. So I'm going to get started here. And the Double Bunny is basically, you know, a bunch of married pieces of rabbit fur. Quad Bunny is going to be 4 of those basically, and I'll get started by basically I'm going to use a size 4 hook. This is a Dairiki, I believe it's a 710, size 4 710 or 730, so it's got some girth to it. Going to get started by taking your lightest piece of rabbit fur. This I'm going to use basically just a gray natural, and I am going to put this basically through the hook, the point basically, right about like so. And Sanchez himself, he uses a little hole puncher and punches a small hole through the rabbit fur, and I'm just going to basically take it and stick it through like so, and it's about centered like so, and now I'm going to take that and get that up onto the hook. And you're going to have to be weaving your thread and everything right through a lot of material, and I'm using Jack Dennis's vise here, so we'll see how well this works for me. that looks pretty stable. Okay. Now you can use a thread that will match one of the colors. I'm going to basically just use black as well, which is a good default color. This is just 3/0 monocord. Get that on to the hook. I'm going to come forward. I'm going to tie on some dumbbell eyes, the bottom part of the hook. This is something the original Double Bunny did not have. That just had stick-on eyes and then had an epoxy head, if I recall. This one I'm actually going to get some eyes on, so I'm just figure-8ing this for the most part. And that ought to do it. Now I'm going to bring this on back about to the bend of the hook. You'll see a lot of this fur will get in the way. You just got to make your way through a lot of that fur. I'm going to get that tied on. And it looks like I'm tying this on the top. I'm actually not. I'm going to just tie that on there and then get it spun around to the bottom. Okay. Now I'm going to spin this son of a gun right around like so. And that's going to be your bottom piece of rabbit fur. I'm going to take a little bit of super glue here and place that on. You'll notice I'm a very big fan of super glue. And this super glue was given to me in rescue fashion by Ken Burkholder about 5 minutes ago, because mine ended up drying up on me. Hence the downside of super glue. So that gets tied on there. Now we're going to put on the your top piece. And your top piece is going to be, let's make sure I got that. Yep, that's in there correctly. Top piece is going to be basically some olive green. You can use a variety of different colors, obviously. The what you want to do is that standard streamer, basically doing dark color over light color, and that's what I'm doing here. So I'll have my dark olive on top of my lighter natural brown. I'm going to match those up like so that the tips match, because that's the important thing there. And I'm going to tie that in. And once again, you're just going to have to weave your way through a lot of material here. Again, I'll do a little bit of super glue. And we're pretty close here to what the original Double Bunny would look like. But now we're going to tie in a couple more strips of fur. And what this is going to be is your lateral line on your bait fish imitation. The original Double Bunny had basically pieces of flashaboo or crystal flash material like that. This is going to be a little bit less flashy, for the lack of a better word. The great thing about this lateral line, your lateral line is going to be composed of a kind of a brighter rabbit fur. And that's what this is going to be here. I'm going to use red. I've also used kind of barred red. I've used crawdad orange, kind of a barred crawdad orange. What I'll do here, I'm going to trim off just a little bit of the back end of the fur itself and leave the hide like so. Flip this around. And that little tag end that we have right there, that little tag end is what we're going to tie in there. take that all the way back to the other 2 strips of fur. Fold that forward and make sure that looks pretty decent. And I've got a lot of it here. I'm going to basically use probably less than half of that. And again, just a lot of material that you just kind of work your way through here. We'll do the same for the other side of the fish. So you got a big gob of rabbit fur right here. That's all going to be covered by the material when you fold everything forward. Now bring the thread forward just about near the eye. Now I'm going to fold the material forward, and the material you tied on last is the material that's coming forward first. So that will be the material you're using as your lateral line, which is your red rabbit fur. Give that a bit of a snip. Forward. Do the same. So I've used this fly here, of course, kind of throughout the rivers that I guide on, the lakes that I fish. Got some girth to it. I'm not necessarily a strict believer in big fly catches big fish, but there are times when that occurs. I've used it overseas a lot. I've used it for taimen in Mongolia. I've used it for pike in Kazakhstan. Now I'm going to fold the olive in first. And your rabbit fur will have a tendency as you pull it to kind of concave and kind of flex up. You want to, as you pull that forward, grab it and kind of flatten it out some, have it convex a bit. Get the gray forward, or natural, I guess is what it actually is. And do the same, make sure that doesn't concave on you. Give that a little snip. And now I'm just going to flatten all of this material that's in here before I form the head. And now I'm going to throw in my head material, which could be chenille, it could be dubbing. What I'm going to use is this type of crystal flash chenille, ice chenille, depending on who the manufacturer is. Wrap all of this basically. You can do a couple figure eights here at the head if you wish. Try not to catch any of that deer hair. Or rabbit hair, I should say. Sorry. I do a lot with deer hair, so it's on my mind a lot. Bring that on forward. Push it back just a wee bit. Finish it off right there. That is your quad bunny. One last step, however. You can leave these basically just kind of hanging back here. The original double bunny, this stuff was married together. Now I'm a big fan of super glue. Super glue doesn't work that well for this. It stiffens it, begins to crack it. Best material you can use to marry strips of rabbit fur is this stuff here. It's called tear mender. See if we can get it. There we go. It's an adhesive. It's a fabric adhesive. Great thing about this stuff, it's going to really stick these together pretty well. But here's the fantastic stuff. It's really user friendly. Yeah, I get super glue on my fingers. I pretty much have crusty fingers for the rest of the day. I get this stuff on my finger. See that? You just go like that, just rub it. It comes right off. It's a great thing about this type of substance. But when I put it on these, the hide here, I'm going to stick these two together and it's going to basically marry them immediately. The other great thing, you get it on other pieces of material, you just kind of rub it and it'll come off pretty quick. So I'm going to place that. You don't need a whole bunch. And I'm just going to place it on one piece. Stick these sons of guns together. And that, for the most part, marries them very, very well. And then if you wish, you can kind of trim that at an angle if you want. I don't necessarily do that. And you can also articulate this if you wish. And if I do articulate it, what I would do is use a piece of cross-cut rabbit fur, adhere it to your stinger, and then wrap it forward on your articulated material, which could be monofilament, it could be Dacron, Kevlar, so a lot of different materials. You'd wrap that forward, tie it off when you get back to your hook, and then your rabbit fur that's down here, your bottom fur, instead of tying that back towards your stinger hook, which you couldn't do, you would basically adhere it to this front hook the same way that you adhered these pieces, these lateral line pieces here. And that is by trimming, forming a butt section, tying it in, and then folding it back over. There you go, that lateral line, once again, it pulsates very, very well when it's stripped through the water. So I use this fly in a lot of different places. And that's that. Okay, I'm going to move on now and go back to flies near and dear to my heart, which are basically dry flies. I come from and work in a part of the country that they say is the greatest dry fly fishing in North America. I don't know if that's the case, but that's mostly what we are doing. We have a fly on the Snake River in Wyoming. That's where I probably guide about 50% of my trips or so is on the Snake in Wyoming. A fly is called a hecuba. Its common name is the blue-winged red quail or great blue-winged red quail. Everybody up there just calls it the hecuba, which is its scientific name. The hecuba, they have them on the Lamar River Valley. On those streams there. I've heard about them on the Bitterroot, never experienced them on the Bitterroot. If you think hecuba, think brown drake. That's a good way to be thinking about it. Any type of brown drake pattern you use is one that you could be using for a hecuba, but they're very different type of bugs. The brown drake is a burrower. Your hecuba is a clinger. And they kind of habituate towards different stream types. That's a big reason why we really don't have brown drakes on the Snake River in Wyoming, because we don't have the right kind of substrate. We don't have that compacted silt that you need there. But regardless, really just think brown drake when you're thinking hecuba. I'm going to get started here. This fly here is based on a fly called a handy-downdy. There's a man back there in that corner with glasses on. His name is Ken Burkholder. He just tied prior to me. He's the guy that kind of developed this fly.